this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yeah, is the Earth flat or is it spherical? And on the Zoom platform is Dave Weiss, proponent of the idea that perhaps we need to think of alternative ways of understanding this whole question. Dave, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Is the Earth spherical or is it flat?
It's crazy, right? Flat Earth. We've known for 500 years or 2,000 years. That's what we're told. But anybody that looks into our history, we see that all of our history is a lie. So let me quickly tell you what flat Earth isn't, and that'll help people see what it is.
Yeah.
You ready?
Go for it.
So most people, when they think of flat Earth, they think of a pancake floating in space with other round planets or even other flat planets, and no flat earther thinks that. That's what the mainstream media wants you to think. If you Google flat Earth, you end up at disinformation sites that are run by government entities such as the Flat Earth Society. No flat earther believes anything that's on that site. It's all nonsense to gatekeep your mind.
Yeah.
So what is the flat Earth if it's not a disk floating in space? Think of a puddle. A puddle is where water accumulates in the low spot in the land, right? And a pond is a bigger puddle. A lake is a bigger pond. Think of all of the world's ocean as a giant lake, right? And the land, the shoreline of the pond is where the land is higher than the water that surrounds the pond. Well, that land is called Antarctica. Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of a spinning ball in a space vacuum. Antarctica is the shoreline of the world pond. And what's beyond that shoreline? Well, we don't know because nobody is allowed to go there. There's a treaty in place that doesn't allow anyone to even question it until the year 2041. So large bodies of water at rest lay flat, measurably, testably, scientifically, provably flat. They don't bend. There's not sea curve, there's sea level. And the shoreline of our world is Antarctica. So you can't fall off the flat Earth. It's just the same as getting to the edge of a lake. You don't fall off the lake. You can step off onto the land, take a walk. What's out there? We don't know.
There's a treaty, Dave? Talk to me about the treaty.
Well, so in 1959, all of a sudden, all of the nations in the world signed on to the Antarctic Treaty. And it says no one is independently allowed to explore beyond 60 degrees south, which is still 1,000 miles from Antarctica, whatsoever. No corporation, no person, not you, not me, no, nothing. And you can't even question the treaty until the year 2041. Several people have tried. They've got permission from their countries, their little rogue countries, to go. And before they even got there, they were intercepted with military ships, threatened to be sunk, turned around, sent home. And when they got home, they were arrested and jailed. Nobody is allowed to explore Antarctica. You could spend $30,000, go there for a couple of days. They take you to the little peninsula. They'll show you some penguins, some ice. They'll show you a ceremonial South Pole, but you can't verify where you are because compasses don't work and GPS doesn't work. And then they kick you out, and that's it. Nobody gets to explore the outer space of Antarctica.
Okay, Dave. I got to tell you that I'm a little frazzled here. So there is there's a conspiracy by nations, I suppose, including my own government, if I understand you correctly, that we should keep the idea that the Earth is not spherical a secret. So what of all of the pictures that we see said to be from space, and we see this blue planet, and
well, it's very it's very difficult on a radio show, but I'll tell you where you can find all these resources. But if you just Google images of Earth from space and put any critical eye to that, you can see that they're all made in Photoshop. They're paintings before they had Photoshop. If you look at the two famous pictures that NASA gave us of Earth, one of them's called the Blue Marble. It was on everyone's iPhone when the iPhones first came out, and the other one was a couple years later. And when you compare them, the dimensions don't work. The continents, the sizes don't work. The imagery is completely off. Everything is wrong. And NASA admits that they're made in Photoshop. The artist, the visual artist named Robert Simmons, who worked for NASA, he told how he made the Blue Marble. He made it from strips of data and he colored it in like an artist. right? There are no photos of Earth. They're lying about everything.
How do you know that Earth is not spherical? How do you know that?
Okay, yeah. So again, anything that NASA tells us, we have no way to verify it. They tell us the sun is 93 million miles away and what size it is, but we have no way to verify that. They tell us Venus is the size of Earth. I can tell you Venus is the size of a beach ball, and there's no way to verify either one of those. So NASA is just putting out propaganda, but how can we tell? Well, they tell us the Earth is 24,901 miles around. Well, there's a curvature formula for any size ball, whether it's a basketball, whether it's a yoga ball, whether it's an Earth ball. And that formula tells us that at 100 miles, there should be 6,600 feet of curvature. But somehow Navy ships can take a pencil-thin laser beam and light up another ship over 100 miles away. There should be a 6,600-foot wall of water in between them.
I get that.
Same thing with submarines down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can use their sonar and see things that should be hiding behind a mountain, but they're not because it's flat.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Give me a call, 011-883-0702. And you're saying, you see, my difficulty with what you're saying is that, so if it's flat,
big conspiracy.
So if it's flat, how come nobody's fallen over on the other side? Are you saying to me that 30?
Did you listen to what I said at the beginning?
No, I did.
If you're on a giant lake and you sail to the edge of the lake, you fall off the lake. The Earth is the basement of the universe. That's the best way I can describe it. Nobody knows how deep it is because the deepest hole ever dug is less than 8 miles. No one's ever been able to get deeper than 8 miles on the Earth, whether it's flat or spherical. Okay, so we don't know what's below there. But at around 7.5, 8 miles, there's an impenetrable barrier that nobody can get through. They've tried for years and they can't get through it. Very strange. So what's down there? I don't know. Nobody knows.
But then how can you conclude that it's flat? I mean, well, if we don't know...
Well, hold on. There is no curvature. Every test for sphericity or axial rotation has failed and shown the opposite. When airplanes fly, they fly straight and level, and they don't have to nose down. If you're flying in an airplane at 500 miles an hour for an hour, right, the Earth will drop away, and in 1 hour, you'll be 30 miles higher than you were an hour ago because the Earth's curvature dropping away. So that means that the pilot would have to nose down a mile every 2 minutes. Okay, that doesn't happen. Airplane flies over the Earth plane. It's not an air globe flying over an Earth globe. It's an airplane.
Yeah,
and there's so many problems. Airplane flights prove the Earth is flat just by the way they work, the way gyros work, the way it keeps it level. And the flight routes that planes take only work on a flat Earth. They don't work on a globe. And there are now thousands of pilots that are coming out and speaking about it, but they have to be very careful because they get fired. We had a KLM pilot that did a show with us, talked about the proof that the Earth is flat, and she was grounded the next day and fired. So, all of the Qantas airline pilots, they told us that they openly talk about it in their lounge, but that's it, because if they ever say anything publicly, they lose their piloting license and they need to support their families with, the subject you were talking about in the first hour, money, which is just another form of control.
011-883-0702. His name is Dave Weiss, and he's also known as Flat Earth Dave. Coming up with some very, very, very interesting notions. What do you think of this? That the Earth is flat, that the world has known about it for a very long time. There's a treaty that governments of the world have signed to agree that nobody will go further to go and investigate. What do you? Is there a name for this horizon, sort of this place?
The name of the treaty is called the Antarctic Treaty. And no one's allowed to go out there. Admiral Byrd is the last explorer that went out there, and he flew out there in the early 1950s and said he found, or late 1950s, he's found land bigger than the United States and no human has ever stepped foot on, filled with resources. And then he was silenced. He soon after that died. And the Antarctic Treaty went into effect. So, and they say it's to protect the penguins and protect the ice. But meanwhile, go ahead and deforest the Amazon and plant palm oil trees. That's fine. But we must protect the penguins and the ice. Come on. You have to start to see what's going on here. Here's the thing. when I heard about flat Earth, I laughed at it. I ridiculed the people that suggested that I look into it. I even banned them from our social media for even suggesting that I look into it, because how stupid do you have to believe to believe the Earth is flat? But then I was forced to look. I said, all right, that's it. I'm just going to prove the globe, debunk flat Earth. And I said, there's hundreds of reasons, proofs of the globe, and there's 0 reasons of flat Earth. And the more I looked, the more I realized the opposite is true. There's tons of proof of flat, stationary Earth, and there's no proof of the globe. The globe is a religion, okay?
Yeah.
The globe is a religion because there is no proof of it whatsoever. There's pseudoscience. We have people like Bill Nye, the lion guy with the bow tie, and we have Neil deGrasse Tyson. These guys are puppets for the elite that are out there pushing disinformation. They will never address us directly. They will only do hit pieces on us to gatekeep your mind. And they'll tell you, well, an eclipse could only happen, and they give you nonsense.
Can I be a little candid with you, Dave?
Please.
I hear what you're saying about the gatekeeping of the mind by the spherical Earth theory. For our conversations, let's call it that. But I'm hearing a lot of circumstantial sort of stuff coming from you too. Is what you're saying not a religion in the same way that you argue that the spherical Earth idea is a religion?
I hear what you're saying, and no, it's not, because we are looking at actual science. Like, if the Earth is 24,901 miles around, when we look from a certain height, we should know where the physical horizon is, but their physical horizon is not there. We can see things that should be miles below the curvature, but we can see them. Our optics have outgrown their lives. We can take a super zoom camera, a Nikon P900, and we could zoom in on things on a clear day, and the tops of these buildings should be 1,000 feet or miles below the curvature, and we can see them when we zoom in on them. The reason things disappear on the horizon, there's a couple reasons. Scientific reasons. One is the atmospheric density. The other is perspective. The other is, things will eclipse them from the bottom up, whether there's waves or mountains or trees, whatever's above your eye line will make things disappear from the bottom up. And we do experiments that show you all this. Here's the problem. If you Google flat Earth, right, top 10 reasons that the Earth is flat, Google's going to serve you top 10 reasons that the Earth is a ball. And it's going to say seasons, sunsets over the water. It's going to say Sticks and Shadows by Aristophanes, which is a lie. It's going to say all of this stuff. But we have videos that we can show you. I've made an app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And it will serve you a new video every day. And it has the top 21 questions that you're going to ask. And then when you click them, up comes a playlist of videos that Google will not serve you.
Okay, right? I've got a lot of questions coming up, Dave, from our listeners.
Let's go. Let's one at a time. Only
great.
I'll answer every single one.
No problem.
Right?
No problem. Dave Weiss is my guest. He believes that the Earth is flat. On our WhatsApp land says, this is a lot of silliness. Can't believe I'm taking my time to type this. Yeah, it's because it's intriguing, Sean. Let me quickly finish the message. He says, I work in science and am a marksman. Ask your host, well, you can't ask me, ask the guest how trajectory works in light and why a projectile requires factoring. I'm certain he won't answer with a straight answer. Mixing jargon and names does prove a ridiculous point, says Sean.
So if he's talking about the Coriolis effect, nobody takes the Coriolis effect into account. That is a mythical thing. As far as a sniper would go, you factor in wind and distance for drop, but you don't factor the spinning of the Earth. The calculations would be ridiculous. There's only, we've interviewed many Army snipers, and they say they've never ever used Coriolis. It's a nonsensical belief, and but there's stories that'll tell you that people do use that, but we've interviewed them all. I have a challenge that on my app, there's a video every day. If you watch the video every day for 2 weeks, and then you still think the Earth is a globe, I will, if you give me one proof that the Earth is a globe, just one, I'm offering a full Bitcoin to anybody that can do that. I'll transfer it immediately for one proof of the globe, or anyone on this show that can supply me one proof of the globe.
Well, the challenge has been laid down, folks. One Bitcoin. If you can prove conclusively that the Earth is spherical, says Dave. Hey? Okay. Ryan is in Cape Town. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, David. Thanks for taking the call. So, Dave, tell me, what does it matter whether it's flat or round? How does it change our lives from day to day? I get the conspiracies of world powers and all that shit. But, like, how does it change me living my life if it's flat or round?
Yeah, it's a pretty good question. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
An awesome question.
Yeah.
And the answer is pretty interesting once you see it. And the answer is, if you believe in the heliocentric model, you have to believe kind of in the Big Bang, and then all the rocks turned into planets and all the gases turned into giant burning balls and suns, and somehow left a vacuum in between. And then magically lightning struck and created an amoeba that grew into a fish, that grew into a monkey, that turned into a human, and that you're spinning out of control, flying through a godless or distant God universe, out of control, where an asteroid could take you out. You're living in this basis of fear of all sorts of calamities happening. When we send our kids to school, the first thing they're learning about is the globe and the planets and dinosaurs and asteroids taking out the dinosaurs. That literally puts fear in the base of their belief system. So if you're living in fear, you give up your sovereignty somewhat. But if you understand, and by the way, there are people that are doing well on this earth that have found God or whatever and are thriving, that's fine. But when you understand what the flat earth is, it's intelligently designed. You are at the center of creation. You're not on a speck flying through space. You're at the center of the creator's creation, and nobody has dominion over you. You have free will. The only law that you have to obey is don't kill anybody, don't steal from anybody, don't break their free will, and help your neighbor. And if everybody knew that, the whole world would unite, and then the elite would be finished. They wouldn't be able to rule over you. When you're living in fear, you give up a lot of your rights, and you willingly give it away to perceived authority. So that's it. And I'm not a Bible guy. My co-host is a Bible guy, but and I never lead with Bible stuff, but there is a verse in the Bible that says, once you see my creation, you no longer have any excuse to deny my existence. And that's a fact, right? Before I understood.
But does that necessarily prove flat Earth, Dave?
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, he's asking the reason why the lie. This is the most important lie, because when you wake up to this, you start to see everything and you unplug from the fear matrix. I no longer live in fear. I no longer worry about nuclear bombs, about asteroids, about running out of food. I no longer worry about any of that stuff. And I realize that we are in a very, very safe place, that we have the ability to thrive, but the people that are running this place or trying to run it, they've hijacked it from us about 100 years ago.
Let's take a call from Katleho in East Rand. Hi, Katleho.
Hi, Praobza. And to our guest, I am fully agreeing with what you were saying, because I've been asking this question for years and trying to research on my side. Just evidently, later last year, there was a video which was banned all over social media, which had evidence. Yeah. But now the evidence with this one was with the sun. We had a cloud running behind a sun. And with our knowledge, what we've been taught from young age, the sun is quite far away from it. So we have to question all these things that we've been taught ever since. And when we question, why is it that they say they fight against us regarding that? So it's good to question that. And what you just mentioned regarding the Bible is basically a good book, you know. For those who can see, it is a treasury. But for those who can't see, it's a deep hole. So it also includes all the scientific facts that we want to know and relate us to knowing what the creation is. Yeah. As a whole. So I do believe that the earth is flat, my brother, and I question every reality that we've been taught, you know.
Katleho in East Rand, thanks very much for your call. Much appreciated.
Let me address two things that he said. One was the sun inside the clouds. On my YouTube channel and also on the app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, on my YouTube channel is the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's just DITRH, the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. We have videos of the sun appearing inside of the clouds, which is impossible in the heliocentric world. But once you understand what the sun is and how it moves around the earth, over the earth, then you'll start to see. And it is difficult to find these things on YouTube. They're still there. It's just when you search for them, YouTube won't serve them to you. So that's what the app really helps with. And then the other one was the Bible. Yep. There's over 200 verses in the Bible that talk about a flat earth. The only thing the Bible never mentions planets. And in Isaiah, it talks about the circle of the earth. Well, the circle of the earth. A circle is just a circle, like a circular lake. We live in a circular pond world. Go ahead.
Can I ask, is there a system, a solar system, as we've learned in the heliocentric theories, Dave?
So the heliocentric soul lure system, right? We are divine. We have soul. We are all here having an experience in this realm, and we have a spark of God in us that I call a soul. And that soul, I believe, comes from the heavens above, from the stars above. And we're here to expand the mind of God. And our whole goal here on earth is to maintain control of our soul and not lose it, not let evil steal it from us. Don't make a deal with evil. So the solar system is not, it's a total lie. When you go out, if you clear your head on a sunny day and you look at the sun or look at the moon in the day sky or even the night sky, you'll see that there's sky behind it. You look at the moon in our sky, there's blue sky behind the moon. When you look at the planets when they're up in the sky, they're bright as the sun. They're little pieces of the sun. They're all named after demigods, right? Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Venus. They're here within the Earth system. They're small, they're energetic, they're probably not physical, and they affect our lives every day. So the entire thing about planets, the only pictures you've seen of planets are from NASA and Disney. And right now, Disney's more credible than NASA.
011-883-0702-021-446-0567. His name is David Weiss. He's also known as Flat Earth Dave. And suggests that the Earth is flat. Katlego agrees with him. And many of you on social media seem also to be agreeing with him. Again, I am probably raising the whole issue of circumstantial evidence rather than scientific, perhaps even empirical evidence from
Aubrey,
you.
The information.
Before you answer my question, listen to it first. All right. So
sorry.
So there are those who will say that, yeah, sure, Dave's arguments make sense from a theoretical, conceptual, cerebral point of view, but he has proven nothing empirically. He's given us nothing to go by that says the Earth is flat, and this is where you can go and prove it. And what Dave has given us at the moment is that there's a treaty, and people don't go there because they all adhere to this treaty.
That's
and you don't.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I can give you things. We've done tests with laser beams, mirror flashes, microwaves over extreme distances where there should be curvature, and there is no curvature. So my question to you is, how many 100-mile stretches of flat water does it take to make a sphere? And that's a silly question because flat water doesn't make a sphere. We can see too far. That's the end of the story right there. The other one is, if we're on a heliocentric world with a high pressure gas system next to an infinite vacuum, show me any instance where you could have high pressure next to low pressure, let alone a vacuum, without a physical barrier. And the only thing the globalists can say is, well, gravity is holding the air down. And it gets thinner and thinner. Well, you can just get a straw, point it downwards, and use the weak low-pressure system of your mouth and lungs, and you could suck air and water up and away from gravity without any effort whatsoever. Okay? So if the space was a vacuum, it would suck all of the air off of Earth, and that's a fact. If space was a vacuum, stars couldn't exist. Okay? Stars are not burning balls of hydrogen. They're here within the Earth system. They're small, they're close, and they're part of the Earth system.
But is space a vacuum? I mean, I think
we believe it's liquid.
Okay, all right, it's liquid.
Right. Yeah, on page 1 of the Bible, it says God separated the waters from the waters and put the firmament. The firmament is the dome.
Yes.
If you look at Werner von Braun, the head of NASA, the Nazi scientist that ran NASA, his gravestone says Psalms 19:1. Look that up. Talks about the firmament. God vaulted the heavens with the firmament. I don't remember the exact quote, but why does a rocket scientist talk about the firmament above us?
If there's an above us, is there a below us?
The deepest hole ever dug is in Russia. It's called the Great Bora Hole or something like that. And they dug it, and it took however long it took. And they used ground penetrating radar while they were digging it. And the ground penetrating radar was it was wrong every step of the way. They're like, all right, there's no more water, and they hit water. All right, there's no more big rocks. They hit rocks. Right. So the ground penetrating radar proved nothing. They got 7.5 to 8 miles, and they hit an impenetrable barrier. They couldn't blow it up. They couldn't drill it. Nothing. Right. And they tried for years. So that's, if you want to make scale of that, think of an apple. They drilled halfway through the apple's skin, just through the apple's skin, and they were wrong every step of the way. And then they hit an impenetrable barrier halfway through the skin, but somehow they knew what the next 4,000 miles were. Okay? That's pseudoscience. When we see that cross-section of the Earth with the molten magnetic metal core, first, that is pseudoscience. It's made up. It's no proof of it. And you can't have a molten magnet. When you heat a magnet up, it loses its magnetism. Everything they tell us is nonsense.
I want to ask that question again that Ryan asked, but maybe slightly in a different way. Why? Why all of
the lie?
This lie, if the Earth is flat? Why? Why do you want to lie to us and tell us that it's spherical?
I'll tell you why. Because they want us. We are slaves to them. They have us.
Who's them? Who's they?
Well, these are the elite families, the Bilderbergs, the Council of Foreign Relations, the UN, the royal families. These are the families that are running this earth. How they got into that position, that's a whole nother topic. But it's all about control. And if they put a fence around us, then we're going to freak out. Like if you had a wild animal, like a mountain lion, and you had him in your yard in a fence of maybe 100 yards around, a quarter mile around, whatever, he's going to want to get over the fence. But you put him in a safari park that's 500 miles around, one day he's going to find the fence, he's going to turn around, he's going to go, fence, he's going to turn around, he's going to live his life. You put a human in there, I don't care if it's 50,000 miles around. When they see the fence, they want to go to the other side of the fence. So they put us in a prison in our mind. The prison is the globe, and there's nothing more to discover. If you remember the Truman Show, he wanted to be an explorer, and they're like, there's nothing more to discover, Truman. We found everything. So if you believe you're on a globe, there's nothing more to discover. Now they're trying to go to Mars, right, which is nonsense, to build a domed world there. Why don't they just build a domed world in Ethiopia, okay? They already have air. They already have sunlight. They have water. Why don't they just do that? It would be, I can't even say it would be a fraction of the cost because it would be insignificant, right? They can just do it here on Earth.
But your conclusion is assuming that the Earth is flat. Now, if they were to argue with you, they would say that no, the reason why we're doing this is because, yes, one, we are discovering more things. We've been told that we have this particular galaxy that we're on. I think it's called the Milky Way or something like that, and that there are billions and billions of others. So there is more to explore, Dave. Yeah,
that's what they want you to believe. But I can help. If we have a couple minutes, I can.
Sure, go for it.
Time we have left?
Yeah, we got some time.
All right. So think in the heliocentric model, the Earth is a giant ball, and the sun is a giant ball, and the Earth is a small little ball next to it. Like if the sun was one of those big yoga balls, 4 or 5 feet around, the Earth is a small marble next to it, right?
Right.
So if we brought that giant yoga ball right next to the Earth, right over your head, it would fill the entire sky, right? Then we move it where they say it is 93 million miles away. It turns into the size of a coin held at arm's length. It reduces in size due to perspective. You with me?
But perspective right? And space and distance.
Well, it doesn't matter. Why is it smaller than when it's a mile over your head? Because it's farther away.
Right.
Smaller due to perspective.
Right. Agreed.
Okay. So it went from
you agree with me that this is a theoretical exercise that you and I are involved in.
I'm showing you. Yeah. I'm going to scientifically prove, and then you can check out the numbers yourself, that we can't see stars at the distance they tell us. So if I doubled the distance to the sun, its angular size would get so small that you couldn't see it. But let's just say, just for safekeeping, I'm going to make it 8 times farther. Well, it would reduce so small that you couldn't see it. Your eye can only see a certain size. The angular resolution limits of your eyes is 0.02 degrees, and measurably at that distance, the sun would be too small. Well, they say the closest star to us, the closest out of our 100 billion stars, is 40,000 times farther than that distance I just moved the sun, right? I moved the sun 8 times farther than it is. We can't see it. The next closest star is 40,000 times farther. These are nonsensical numbers. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. Do you know how long 1 trillion seconds is? Want to take a guess?
No, I don't know. I don't. Give me a sense.
1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. 31,000 years. Okay? People have a hard time believing that. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. This is nonsensical babble. There's zero proof of any of it. As a matter of fact, during the last eclipse, some amateur astronomers said, hey, looking at the size of the shadow and the moon and stuff, they said, you know what? We think the sun's bigger and farther. But science, they quickly washed that off the internet. All these amateur astronomers were reporting this, saying, hey, we think the sun's bigger and farther, because if they did that, they have to change everything. They have to change the distance and size of the Earth and the moon.
In terms of the in terms of the flat Earth theory, is there anything next to the flat Earth?
Again, that's speculation. We don't know what's beyond Antarctica. You know, on election day, on the previous election, John Kerry went to Antarctica on election day. Found that very strange. Don't know what that's about. What's out there in the outer space? Here's this is, by the way, this is not proof of anything. This is me speculating. I'm not saying this is what's out there, but what if you could travel across Antarctica and you went a couple thousand miles and then there was another ocean and then there was more land out there? What if there was another sun out there? Because our sun is small and close. That would be extra territory, extra terra. Extraterrestrials come from the extra territory in the outer space beyond Antarctica across the flat Earth plane. Do you know that all of the largest telescopes in the world are in the south, like Johannesburg? I believe there's one. And they're not pointing up. They're pointing south. They're pointing outwards, away from the center of the flat Earth. The center of the flat Earth is the north, and every direction away from the center is the south.
Again, Dave,
my friend.
You make some pretty compelling arguments, theoretically speaking. Yeah.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that I can prove, like there is no curvature. We can see too far. That proves there's no curvature. Here's the question. So some of the stuff we say is theoretical, but some of the stuff is very, very provable, scientifically provable. Like the stars, we can't see them. And when you look at the lights in the sky, none of them make sense. The brightness of the moon makes no sense, right? How can we read by the moonlight, but when the astronauts were on the moon, it wasn't that bright? How's that light traveling 238,000 miles to us? The question I ask you is, can you give me your number one proof that you think the Earth is a globe?
Well, I don't have number one proof in terms of this conversation. No, I don't. And I'm definitely...
I know, because there are none.
Hold on. But you can't ask me, because I can't even begin to say I can contribute intelligently on this, because it's not a place that I'm an expert in.
Aubrey, you're absolutely right. None of us are, and they don't make us experts because they don't want us thinking about it. Because once you think about it, you realize the heliocentric model is nonsense. They don't want you thinking about it, because whenever you actually look at it, you realize how insane the heliocentric model is, and how much, the heliocentric model, we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. So when you watch the sunset, you have to believe that you're sitting on top of a ball falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. That's what you have to believe. And then you're orbiting around a sun at 66,600 miles an hour while chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles an hour, while that entire system moves sideways at 1 or 2 million miles per hour. That's the heliocentric story. I didn't make that up. That's what science says.
Here's my question to you. And by the way, Dave, I'm not here to prove you right or wrong. I'm here to listen to what you've got to say.
We're just having a discussion, my friend.
So my question is, what do you think of coronavirus? What do you think of this?
I think it's the coronavirus has been around every year. We have it every year. There's coronaviruses every year. Coronavirus is every common cold is categorized as a coronavirus. This one they just put in the media more.
And so you think that this coronavirus that the world is talking about at the moment is really just a hype?
Well, you know what? I haven't seen a lot. I mean, the number of positive cases has skyrocketed, but the number of deaths has remained the same. Somehow this year or last year, the number of people that had heart attacks almost went to zero. Heart disease almost to zero. All of these other deaths. Influenza is cured somehow all of a sudden. And it seems like all of those people are dying of corona now. So it's a fascinating story, but I'm not worried about it.
The second question around, I suppose, these questions are really more about your worldview and how you understand. Sure. What are your thoughts about the idea of love? What is love? Does that exist?
I think that's what we're here. We're here to experience love. They don't want us to know that in the 1800s, there was a worldwide civilization called Tartaria, a worldwide advanced free energy civilization here that everyone was united. I believe that's when love is experienced the most. Here's the thing. Look what's going on in this world right now. They divided us up by countries and then by religions and by sexes and by sports teams and by political parties. And they divide. Now they have us don't go near anybody, be afraid of every person that gets within 6 feet of you, and wear a mask. Think about this. The power of a smile. The power of a smile is the most powerful thing on this world. And now they have us covering up our faces. Every single relationship, every love relationship, every single one started with a smile. And now they have us covering our smiles. They're hiding God. That's the why. They're hiding God. They don't want people that haven't found God to find God.
Evan is in Cape Town. Hi, Evan.
Hi, Dave.
Yep.
I'm curious, Dave, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Connecticut, right near New York City.
And if you take a look out your window, can you see the sun? Or maybe clouds or something? Is it day?
Well, it's cloudy today, but sure, you can see the sun.
What's your point, Evan?
So how come if the Earth is flat, that you have daylight and we are approaching the middle of our night? It's pitch black. And until 20 to 7 tomorrow morning, we won't see the sun.
Interesting question. Yep.
Yeah, no. It's a great question. And on the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, it really shows you how that works. But our sun is small and close. Light doesn't travel forever. And with the density of the atmosphere, it barely travels a few hundred miles. We see this. This is a complicated one, and we don't have time to get way into it. But we see the sun in a position relative to our own. And we can show you science that shows you how this works. But on a super clear day, there's actually a nice video from that's on my channel, DITRH, in South Africa, where the sun is just going away. It doesn't go down. And when you watch the sun under certain weather conditions from altitude, you can see that it's not going down. I filmed the sun 7 times with a 4K camera from my drone on a super clear day over facing west. So I'm over the land, and the sun goes down, and then it stops. And it doesn't go down anymore. It just sits there, and then it goes away. And then all of a sudden it just disappears into the thickness of the atmosphere. So once you see that, then you can understand. It's all available on my YouTube channel, D as in David, DITRH, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, DITRH. I have short videos there. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Koketso is in Davidton. Koketso, go ahead. What is your question for Dave?
Hi, Dave. I'd like to actually understand. Here, Kibushi, it's at night, Moko, South Africa, and then in America, it's probably in the morning or during the day. So how do you explain that in the context of the flat Earth?
Yeah, so the sky is like a perfect clock. The sky is a clock. The sun is the hour hand. So if you're looking at the flat Earth, the North Pole's in the center. The shoreline, the edge of the clock, is the land of Antarctica. and the sun just circles around the center, and it migrates in between the inner circle, the Tropic of Cancer, and the outer circle, the Tropic of Capricorn, every 6 months. So you guys, you're in South Africa. Are there certain times? There's certain times of the year there when the sun sets, it's dark in 5 minutes, right? It's pitch black in 5 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, it can do that. Yeah.
We never have that here. When the sun goes down here in the inner north, it's light for another 90 minutes. The sun sets and it's still light for another 90 minutes. When you look at that on a flat earth map, it's because the sun is making a tighter circle closer to us, right? And where you guys are, you're closer to the Tropic of Capricorn. Well, the sun is moving faster out there. Again,
Explain to me the idea.
In the app, just where does the sun go?
Yeah.
Boom, you'll see it.
Explain to me the idea that we're in the south and you're in the north.
So the center of the pond is the inner north. Halfway between the center and the outside is the equator. That circle just through the center around the middle of the pond.
Yeah.
You know, the middle, I mean, halfway between the middle and halfway between the shoreline, that's the equator. And then anything on the outside of that is the outer south. You're not down south, you're out south. We're on the inner north, right? The Arctic, think about this. The Arctic, when you're in the Arctic Circle, the sun is circling around you in an arc. When you're in the Antarctic, it's circling away from you because you're outside of the circle as it's circling around.
Yeah.
Lot to take in.
Yeah.
You can see it on the app.
All right. Interesting stuff. Dave, how do people get to see the app?
The best way is, on Google Play, if you search for it, they feed you a bunch of Flat Earth Society and knockoff apps with the same name. Those aren't my apps. My app is called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app by Blue Water Bay. But the easiest way to get there is just go to my website, theflatearthpodcast.com, theflatearthpodcast.com, and you can click the app link right there. And read the reviews if you're unsure about spending the $3 on the app, and see what the reviews say. It's the highest rated app in the App Store. People love it, and it will change your life. What difference does the shape of the Earth make? Nothing. It's the lie that makes a difference. Once you see through the lie, you literally unplug from the fear matrix and you free your mind. And when a free mind is what this is about, and then you can experience love even better.
Dave Weiss, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a very interesting conversation, and I appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks so much.